If you have a collaboration site like a team site or a document workspace, most of the pages on this site are still generated around the lists and libraries that you have, but you can still change your home page, and then editing a page has been significantly improved in this version of SharePoint. If you have the right permissions, you can either click the Edit Page symbol that appears on the ribbon here, or you can select from Site Actions Edit Page. You then have the Editing Tools section of the ribbon appears, and you have in-place editing directly using the web browser, without worrying about constructing and dragging and dropping web parts and content. Without worrying about dragging and dropping web parts and having pop-up content windows, you can directly type in the contents of the page and add new content wherever you'd like. Selecting any piece of content, you then have a variety of styles that you can select from, whether they're highlighted or even markup styles, like selecting different kinds of headers and colored headers. The usual suspects for formatting are also here. You can select from some web-friendly fonts and font sizes. You've got alignment and bullet points, that kind of thing. There's a section here that says text layout, and I think this is somewhat misleading. It's really the layout of the page. Page layout is a term that was claimed by other parts of SharePoint long ago. By choosing that option, you're not injecting new pieces on the page. You're actually changing the existing page to, say, 2 columns with a header, or to 2 columns with a header and footer, or to 3 columns with a header. I'll click back to the original one, which was 1 column with a sidebar. Of course, it wouldn't be SharePoint without us being able to insert new web parts, and we do have that on the Insert section of our ribbon, along with some other useful things like having a link insert, a picture insert, which becomes much more useful than it used to be, because it is smart enough to allow us to first navigate to an image that's on our local computer, and it will actually upload it to a library on this SharePoint site before adding a link to it. You can also add in tables from the top left here. If you've added tables from other Office applications, it will look quite familiar to you. You just select the amount of rows and columns that you want to add. Let's do a 5x2 table. And we instantly have 5 columns and 2 rows. And up in our ribbon, we have yet more options for changing the table itself or merging cells or splitting cells. If that wasn't what I wanted to do, I do have some basic undo capabilities. If I hit Control-Z, I can actually go back as if I'd never added that table in the first place. But this is a SharePoint page, so almost certainly we're going to want to add a web part at one point. On the Insert section of our ribbon, we have a web parts group with 3 options. They're really not so different from each other. They're just more convenient ways of getting to the same place. The first one, web part, we'll see in a moment, but you do have quick options for adding an existing list web part, so a web part representing an existing list, such as the announcements list or assets list or calendar. Just going to cancel that. You do have the ability to directly from the ribbon create a new list and add the web part representing that list to your homepage, which is a very convenient way of doing it. So if I wanted to have a useful links list, I'm both creating this list and adding a web part representing that to the page. And I'm still in edit mode. But if the web part that you want to add is a bit more complex than that, you can just select the web part option. This is a much improved way of adding web parts to your pages. It does break them down into categories. Yours is likely to look different based on your SharePoint configuration of your farm. But you have the usual suspects. You have sections for search. You have sections for your existing lists and libraries. You have sections for this new social collaboration web parts like the tag cloud based on how you're tagging your content. And if you have the enterprise version of SharePoint Server, you may have the business data section, allowing you to connect to external data that's been defined in BCS or business connectivity services. I'm going to cancel out of that. Any web part that you have added can be configured by selecting the Edit Web Part option from the drop-down menu. This is very familiar to the SharePoint 2007 days, just a variety of different options available from this right-hand side of the screen. You can also get to some of your options from the Web Part Tools section of the ribbon as well, such as Web Part Properties, whether you want to minimize it down to just the top bar or even delete the entire web part. Once you're done with your editing, you'll notice that the edit page icon has actually changed to a save and close icon, though you can also get to that from the page section of the ribbon. Here I have options for save and close, save and keep editing, or stop editing. I'm going to select save and close. And our changes that we've made to this page are immediately public because we're just working on a normal collaboration site, in this case a team site. If we have a website with the publishing feature enabled, there are even more options to it, but basic page editing in SharePoint 2010 is significantly easier and more powerful than it was in the previous version.